Hello and welcome to another Sprues and Brews interview. Today we're joined by Isaac Childres from Cephalofair Games. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
How are things over there today?
Doing pretty great. I am going to a little cabin con tomorrow, so this is the only day this week that I'm working, which is kind of exciting.
Oh, amazing. Cool. Awesome. Well,
And then I just get to play board games all week.
That is clearly the best job then, surely, playing board games.
Yeah.
So before we get
Well,
started, in case anyone doesn't know who you are, do you want to tell us a little about yourself and a little bit about Cephalofair Games?
Sure. I'm Isaac Childres. I'm the owner and lead designer of Cephalofair Games. And I mean we're most well known for making Gloomhaven, though recently, we also came out with Frosthaven, which is even bigger and more ridiculous than Gloomhaven was. And we're just working on a lot of cool things. Try to make epic games that sort of emphasize player choice over randomness. I think that's kind of our motto.
Amazing. That's really cool. So from like a gaming background, what kind of games are you into? What do you like to pick up and play on your days off?
I mean, I'd say that I mostly play like kind of heavier Euro games like resource management and stuff like that, which is not necessarily in line with Gloomhaven, but a little bit at least. But yeah, like my favorite game is Gaia Project.
Oh, cool.
Which is like the sci-fi version of Terra Mystica. I also really enjoy Lost Ruins of Arnak. But really, I mean, I'll play anything that's fun. I mean, like, I don't know, Galaxy Trucker, just, if a game is, I have a wide range of tastes, I'd say.
Amazing. That's really cool. So I think the big moment for you was Gloomhaven and the insane popularity it had when it came out. Can you tell us a little bit about the creation of Gloomhaven and kind of how you found the journey of releasing it? Because I guess that was a big moment for you and Cephalofair, wasn't it?
I mean, completely changed the trajectory of everything. I mean, I had this idea for a game. It was kind of like taking that dungeon crawl aesthetic, but applying some more like Euro type mechanics of resource, card management and player decisions, and kind of trying to meld those two things into something that I could enjoy. Because I mean, I really like dungeon crawls, but I don't really like rolling dice and just being beholden to the randomness of that. And so that was really the impetus behind it was just trying to find a happy medium, but between the two types of games that I like. So I mean, I just kind of sat in my house and worked on this game for, I don't know, I guess it was 2.5 years.
Wow. Okay.
Eventually put it up on Kickstarter and did really well, but I don't know. I never imagined that it was would be as successful as it was. I assumed it would be well received among a certain niche part of the hobby. People with some sensibilities like similar to mine. I didn't consider my sensibilities to be kind of like mainstream necessarily, but it just ended up getting like such good reviews from pretty much everyone who played it that once it was finally released, it just kind of like blew up in a much bigger way than I expected. And suddenly like my life, like the business, like everything just kind of like turned on its head. And we had to launch a second Kickstarter project, and everybody was pounding on my door, wanting to do like localizations or like accessories and all sorts of things. Like everybody wanted to get on the Gloomhaven train after that. And it was all very exciting, but at the same time, very overwhelming. And so it took, something that up to that point, right, I was just kind of like working on this company on my own, and sort of realizing that, okay, well, yeah, this company now has to grow and sort of grow into like what Gloomhaven has become. And that took a while, but
Was
yeah,
that a weird
it
moment
was,
then, going from, I guess, a small kind of indie game studio to suddenly like the biggest game on, Board Game Geek?
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very surreal. Yeah, and I'm just right. I'm just some dude, and suddenly, yeah, like this game that I created is like #1 on Board Game Geek, which is kind of like, I mean, the biggest honor I could think of. I mean, because that's kind of how I started in the hobby, was going to Board Game Geek and just looking at whatever the top game was and trying it out. So yeah, I mean, it took me kind of a long time to realize like that the company did need to grow and like hire more employees. Like for a long time, I thought I could do everything myself, and that um, ended up stagnating things a little bit. But I
Yeah.
think we're in a good place now.
Awesome. So I guess Gloomhaven's quite unusual. You touched on it earlier because rather than dice, everything's controlled through a deck of cards. So your players have got a lot more control over their action. There's less randomness. So I take it from kind of games that you'd played. Is that something that you'd want to see in a game yourself, rather than many games have been ruined by a really unlucky dice roll, where with Gloomhaven, the player, I guess, is always in control of their actions. I guess that was a big kind of driving point for the mechanics.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. And I mean, to be fair, like some Gloomhaven games can still be ruined by an unlucky flip of that null card. So there's still some randomness in there. But yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, I just kind of really, in the games that I've played, just have really kind of shied away from that like heavy randomness. Yeah, just because like I want things to feel like I'm in control of what's happening. And dice just kind of like take that away from me. So I wanted to minimize that as much as possible.
Awesome. Cool. So I think it's safe to say that Gloomhaven was a massive success with multiple printings, and it all went a bit crazy. Did you feel a lot of pressure to bring a follow up out for the game?
Um, I mean, there was certainly pressure there. People asking like, when, what's next, what's new, and even like right now, like Frosthaven has like just hit people's doorsteps.
Mm.
Just constantly being barraged by questions of like, what's next, what's next. And it's like, well, I mean, you got Frosthaven, that's going to keep you busy for multiple years, so don't bother me about it. But I don't know if it was like a lot of pressure. I mean, at the end of the day, like I started working on Frosthaven like even before Gloomhaven came out. Just kind of like
Okay.
blocking out the story. So it's something that I wanted to work on more than something that I like felt the pressure to create. And that's kind of a similar situation I'm in now. As I still feel like I have the freedom to just create what I want to create and not worry too much about you know what other people want me to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking through Frosthaven, it seems like the natural progression of Gloomhaven and kind of fleshing out some more of the, I guess, the legacy element and the cool kind of, I guess, almost pick your own adventure and puzzle elements added in there as well, which is really, really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So Frosthaven should be arriving in the hands of backers around about now. So without giving away too many spoilers, are there any kind of cool new things that people can look forward to in the game?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the kind of philosophy behind Frosthaven was just listening to all the feedback on Gloomhaven and just making it better in every conceivable way. And I really think that we achieved that. So yeah, I mean, in terms of like, artwork, graphic design, writing, like all that stuff, like I think we've all kind of stepped it up a notch. Production quality, just storage capacity in the box, actually providing you with plastic bags and plastic inserts and everything. But yeah, I mean, more than that, more balance to the characters, to the scenarios, making more interesting scenarios. So less sort of kill all enemies type missions, and just offering a variety of different things that you can interact with within the scenarios, and then also just this whole outpost phase, which I guess is like the biggest new thing, kind of sort of giving you something to do in between scenarios, but that still ties directly into the scenarios, right? So you're kind of collecting loot from the scenarios that isn't just money, but it's a bunch of resources and stuff that you can then go back to the town with to build up the town or craft items. And then by building up the town, that'll give you, just additional things that you can interact with, and bring back into the scenarios, without getting into spoiler territory there. Like they kind of feed off each other in a really interesting way, I think. And then we've also added, the calendar system, which gives us a lot more control over like how the story is presented to people. In Gloomhaven, you just have that deck of events, and if you wanted to kind of tell a story with those events, it was kind of like random, right? I mean, you'd read an event, you'd make a decision, and then you'd add a new card into the deck, but it would just kind of get shuffled in, and you might never see it again. And so by having a calendar system where you can just say, okay, in 5 weeks, that next part of that story is going to come to fruition. It really just kind of gives a lot more control and makes things flow better and feel more thematic. And then also allows us to kind of play with like the seasons of summer and winter, and reinforcing this idea of like the small outpost that's kind of like on the edge of destruction. And you can kind of build up the defenses during summer, and then you get into the winter phase, and it's going to get a lot harder, and events are going to get a lot nastier. And just kind of having that dynamic there too, I think is really interesting.
Awesome. So one of the things that surprised me when I got the box was how big and heavy it is, and just how much stuff you managed to cram into there. Was the maximum size capacity of the box something you had to bear in mind while designing the game?
Not really. Maybe we should have. But yeah, just like Gloomhaven, it was just design first. Really, it's like, this is all the stuff that I want in the box, and so this is all the stuff we're going to put in the box, and we'll figure out how to make that work later on down the road.
Amazing. So what's your favorite thing then about the new game?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because
there's lots of cool stuff in there, isn't there?
There's lots of cool stuff. I'm really happy and proud of how the puzzle book came out. I think that was kind of one of the bigger failings of the original game, was kind of the big puzzle in that, which is kind of a spoiler, but and how that was implemented. And I think going back and working on Frosthaven and kind of doing that in a much better way, and I'm really happy with how the puzzles turned out, and like how the artwork for all the puzzles turned out, and how it ties in to the rest of the game. I think it's pretty great. I know there's some people out there who don't like puzzles and are still annoyed that there are puzzles in the game, but I really love them. So
sounds cool. Sounds cool to me. So I guess adjacent to that, like legacy games have been super popular. How does it feel to kind of like create a game where one group of players might have a completely different experience than another group of players based on like the decisions they make during the game? I guess planning for that and designing it, I guess that's a pretty big job.
Yeah. So we did a significant amount of like campaign playtesting to kind of make sure that whatever various paths you go down, you're still going to have a good experience with the game. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the main points of the game itself is that it's your own world that you can explore and kind of interact with however you want to, and that's really an important part of the design process, both in Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, is making people feel like this world is their own world, and their decisions matter. And so a lot of work went into that, but I think it's think it's necessary.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, you mentioned that the calendar system. It kind of sometimes it almost feels like there's a games master running the game for you, because it's like, yeah, on this day you get to the week in the calendar. It's like, okay, we'll read this section, and everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember that from a couple of sessions ago when XYZ happened. So no, really really cool. So if box size and weight and cost was no factor, is there anything you'd like to include in your dream game but just wouldn't be feasible to do as a release?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think Frosthaven is sort of a testament to what I want to do. If nothing is a factor. I mean, a lot of people will say like, it would be better if there were like miniatures for all the monsters, and obviously that would double the size of the box easily, and so that wasn't a luxury that we afforded there. But maybe, I mean, I personally don't mind the standees at all. Like for me personally, like I think the game is perfect as is, and the standees work perfectly well. But I could see how some people would want miniatures for everything. I don't know. I can't think of anything else. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with with everything, and how
you've crammed a lot in that box, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of miniatures, I believe that there's a project on the horizon for some Gloomhaven universe miniatures. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're launching a backer kit crowdfunding project in April. And it's going to have a lot of parts to it, but yeah, one of the main parts is the miniatures. So we are doing miniatures for essentially everything that you could want a miniature for, or at least, well, monsters and also characters and summons. So I guess if you're still looking for miniatures for like all the 3D terrain, then we're not going to be doing that. But but yeah, all the monsters and all the summons for like all classes across all titles, and then we're also revisiting the sculpts from the original Gloomhaven.
Oh, cool.
So you can get new versions of those characters as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the sculpts in the Frosthaven box are really nice. So kind of similar kind of quality to those then.
Yeah, we're using some of the same sculptors there. We've also hired some new sculptors who are also very very good at what they do. So it's really exciting to see all the sculpts coming to fruition. All these monsters realized in 3 dimensions. It's cool.
That is very cool. So what kind of release model are you looking for them? Can people buy like single models, or will it be more of here's a set of one of each monster you can use as your elite? Or could some people go crazy and go, right, I want 10 of each monster so I can run everything fully with miniatures? Is there kind of, or somewhere between that maybe?
Yeah, so we're still kind of hammering all that out. But yeah, I think we're trying to like reduce the number of products as much as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not going to be able to like buy like a single ooze miniature. So yeah, we're going to probably break it up by game. So you can get like all the Gloomhaven miniatures. So basically a set of miniatures for every monster in Gloomhaven. So 6 of this monster, 10 of that monster, and including all the bosses. And then there will be add-ons to like add on all like the Frosthaven monsters or the Jaws of Lion monsters and all of that. And then there'll be separate packs for like summons, like Gloomhaven summons and Frosthaven summons.
That's really cool. So kind of alongside supporting the board game, I read that this is supporting a new role-playing game coming out as well, set in the Gloomhaven universe.
Yeah. So we thought the more you can use these miniatures, the better. Not only can you use them in the board game, but if you want them for an RPG. We figured it was high time to work on a Gloomhaven RPG ourselves. Because the the world is, I think, kind of rife for that sort of less directed, player-driven, like exploration. Like give the lore and everything about the world, just into the hands of GMs across the world, and have them create their own stories and make their own adventures. I'm pretty excited to see that come to fruition as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. You've got a lot of unique creatures and archetypes and stuff, so I guess people will be able to play as whatever combination of stuff they'd like to then?
Yeah, so, within the kind of system as it is, right? Yeah, so we have, I think, 8 ancestries in the core RPG that people can play as. So you got humans, Valraths, Quattrels, Savas, Inox, Vermling, and Harrowers, and I might have missed one there. Anyway, not Aesthers though. Aesthers are a little too powerful in a role-playing sense, since they can kind of like teleport around and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so yeah, you can be whatever ancestry you want, and then also whatever class you want, and then kind of like mash them together. So you could be a Vermling Cragheart if you want, or an Orchid. Oh, an Orchid is one that I missed, or an Orchid. I don't know, whatever you want.
That's cool.
And that'll allow you some customization in your character creation to kind of pull from like 2 different pools of ability cards, and yeah, customize your character in that way.
Cool. So you mentioned ability cards. Are we going to see I guess people used to Gloomhaven, similar kind of combat system with a top of one card, bottom of another kind of mechanic?
Yeah, it's important to me to kind of keep that dynamic the same in the RPG. I think that's obviously one of the main strengths of Gloomhaven is the combat system. So we didn't really see any reason to change it too drastically. So we want to keep that core gameplay loop of playing 3 rounds, playing 2 cards at a time,
Awesome.
doing the top action of one, the bottom action of the other.
Cool. So with that, will players of like Gloomhaven and Frosthaven be able to use components from the board games in their role-playing sessions then?
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah, and that's kind of the idea, right? Is that if you have the Gloomhaven box, you kind of just have like a big, box of tools that you can use in your role playing game to set up, whatever maps you want, and kind of use those monsters in the box. And in terms of like the specific cards, like the character class cards, where it's still in development, but yeah, you'll probably need to like buy a new set of those because they'll be different enough. But yeah, otherwise, there's plenty of nice map tiles and all sorts of stuff in the Gloomhaven box that you can use.
Oh, that's cool. And is this going to be in the same Kickstarter as the miniatures then? Kind of April, kind of go live for that.
Yeah, it'll be that same crowdfunding project. We'll also be launching second printing of Frosthaven in that same project. So if you didn't get in on the original project, you can get a copy through that crowdfunding project as well.
Cool. So are there any challenges or things you need to look at differently when creating a role-playing game compared to a board game? I guess a lot more moving parts in the board game, but then I guess you've got a lot of player agency in the role-playing game.
Right. Yeah, I've discovered over this last year or so that it is 2 very different beasts, and designing a role-playing game is a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. And it's so we're bringing in a lot of help as well to kind of people very experienced in designing role-playing games to come in and help and make sure everything is going to produce an experience for the players that will be good and kind of encourage their own creativity and how they play their characters and how they create their adventures. But yeah, it is very different because a board game is like very structured, right? It's like, these are the rules, this is the system that you're playing in. And, once you know those rules, then you can just sit down and take your actions, and that's it, right? The role-playing game is very open, but it still needs to be structured. Like, you need to present the rules in a way that people can, kind of be inspired to like use their own creativity in how they play. And so you kind of need to give them that freedom to use that creativity however they want, but also kind of build a safety net under that to make sure that, like, even if they're not comfortable doing that, there's still like rules and guidances for like how to progress through the systems. So it's like you would think it'd be easier because, like, you're giving people more freedom to do what they want, but at the same time, like, it's harder because those guidances like still have to be in place. I don't know. It's really interesting, like, field to explore.
It's been fun working on it though, I guess.
Yeah, it's been challenging. It's been fun in parts.
Amazing. So I guess a lot of people have always kind of asked, do you think you'd ever do a kind of sci-fi themed game, kind of with similar Gloomhaven mechanics? Is that something you'd be interested in at some point?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting as a concept, and yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think you can do some cool things with that same system in a sci-fi setting. Yeah, so we'll just have to see in the future. If I get inspired to do something like that.
Awesome, cool. So obviously you kind of created a board, these games from scratch by yourself. Have you got any advice for anyone out there that's maybe interested in getting into game designing themselves?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a very fun job. I said but I didn't really have a but. It's a very fun job. Period. Yeah, but I guess there is like a big difference between like designing games and like, running a publishing business, which I didn't fully understand from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would encourage people. I don't know. I feel like I got like incredibly lucky that my game was like so successful that, like, my failings as like a business owner kind of were I was able to overcome them because of how popular the game was. But I feel like in most cases, yeah, if you're designing games, yeah, you probably should just be like not necessarily self-publishing them, but like, yeah, pitching them to established publishers who know what they're doing, and just stick to designing games, because running a business and designing a game is a very different thing.
Yeah, I bet. Amazing.
Well, but I mean, you can always try it and see how it goes. I mean, that's what I did, and it ended up working out for me. But again, like, I feel like I got really lucky.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been such a cool kind of, I guess, story arc, the kind of the rise of Gloomhaven, and you kind of, come into the spotlight with the game. So yeah, really, really cool. So finally, before we let you go, there's a question that we ask every single person that we interview. What is your favourite sprue? And this can include stuff out of Frosthaven and Gloomhaven, favourite miniature maybe. And what is your favourite brew?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's one miniature in Frosthaven that's a locked class. It's the Fist is its kind of code name, and I think that miniature, that sculpt, like, came out really well, and it looks super cool. And you just look at it and you're like, oh yeah, I want to play that. That looks really fun. So that's probably, yeah, my favorite miniature. In terms of brew, so you said like a hot drink?
Yeah, hot drink. The hot drink you'd enjoy while playing a game.
Yeah. I mean, like, hot chocolate is nice. I mean, I'm not a big tea drinker. I mean, I'll drink tea on occasion. I know that's like maybe sacrilege over there. But yeah, I would go for like a hot chocolate or over a tea, or maybe even like you know, like an apple cider, not what are those? What is that called? Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track. I don't have a good answer for this, but we'll just go with hot chocolate.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. I will go with that. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you check out the kind of the launch of the crowdfunding in April when that goes live. We're really excited to follow that too. Over on the channel, on YouTube and on spruesandbrews.com, very soon we'll have our review of Frosthaven dropping, along with some playthrough videos too. So if you are interested in learning more about Frosthaven, make sure you check out that. But until next time, hope you have a great week, and we'll see you all soon.